Hello, and welcome to the Darby Creek Diaries. I'm Gale Thompson, and it's beginning to look like spring, and I'm so excited. I am so happy to be with you for the Lawn Fawn Fan Spring YouTube Hop. This time we're sponsored by Only One Life Creations. They're giving away a $50 gift certificate available internationally, and more about that later. You may already have this pop-up box card. It's been out a few years. If so, that's great. I like to see people get use out of the products because they're not cheap. We're going to start off with watercolor paper. I'm going to use the rough side of this. This is Distress watercolor paper, and I'm using 3 Distress inks, and we're going to make a little watercolor rainbow. And these supplies are linked below, and they'll be over at my blog. First, I'm just getting the paper a little wet, and that helps the color flow a little bit. And then I'm just squishing some Distressed Kitsch Flamingo. I started with that big brush, and boy, it was just really not going anywhere fast. So I switched out to a watercolor pen. And all I'm doing is slopping this on. If you aren't a watercolorist, this is the project for you. If you're not an ink blender, this is the project for you. We'll get into that later. I'm blending in the squeezed lemonade, and eventually we're going to have, there's a little orange up there, so I'm trying to make it a little more intense. I should have just gotten the orange Distress ink out, but I was determined I was going to blend those into a rainbow. It doesn't matter, these all die back once they're dry, and we're going to use this for our little Easter eggs. But if you want to do something that's just mindless and making backgrounds, this is perfect. I'm the queen of mindless. I don't like to concentrate a bunch because I have to do it all day long. Now we are going to use some wood grain cardstock. I only have the white, and I wanted to make it kind of variegated, so I got out my antique linen, and you can see a bunch wasn't happening there. And you are going to see the biggest mess ever. But it doesn't matter. It comes out looking great. It's just gonna take a little bit of elbow grease to get there and some patience. But I don't want it to be perfectly smooth, which is good because it wasn't gonna be. I'm not the best ink blender, but I'm better than this though, trust me. It's not real easy to blend on wood grain cardstock. And it's I used the blending brush because I didn't want to have lots of gloppy places. But after a while, I could see that this was going to take even the more forever than it already did. This went on and on and on, and I spared you. I went into an ink domed ink blending tool. I even tried to take the pad, and you can see those little marks there. I just started to do that direct to paper, but that wasn't working either. But it's okay to have those marks. This is going to look like wood. So I'm just going to keep hacking away and hacking away. And see, now I'm going to show you what I did down there. And just keep on trucking. That's all I can say. Here it's getting a little bit better. Not great, but don't worry. And so when I say mindless, it doesn't get any more mindless than this. I'm going to top it off with some Soot Distress. This is kind of like a galaxy, only with browns. I don't have a lot of browns because it's not one of my favorite colors. I've been watching a lot of Tim Holtz though, so I will be getting a little more grunge here and there, but I'm not in the browns. I don't wear brown clothes. So I'm trying with the soot. I thought, well, I don't want to get on in too heavy. Well, that was taking forever, so I got myself another domed blender. Those are from scrapbook.com. And I'm just going to keep applying. I'm going across the grain. I'm going with the grain. I'm just going. And it's still a hot mess, But believe me, you just have to have faith. I'm taking my distress sprayer and I'm just very liberally putting in some droplets, just like we've done 1,000 times for 1,000 years. And it's starting to look more realistic. I did this a total of, I don't know, 4 times, but I spared you all the details of it. It's kind of interesting, when I pulled up the paper towel, it came up green in places. Then I hit it with the heat tool, not the embossing tool, just the heat tool, to make sure that it was dry before we went on to our next fun thing. Now look at that. It's not bad. I thought about putting a little bit of white on top to accent it, and then I got smart. Now look at my problem. Have you ever done something you thought was going to be really brilliant, and then you realize the reason it hasn't been done is because it's not brilliant? Well, I was going to make my box out of this, but then I realized that you were going to see the inside. So, duh. So I got out my brown cardstock and assembled, got all my pieces die cut, and we're just going to put our pop-up box together, and I'm going to have wood grain panels. It's going to be like a wagon from the 50s, a Woody. I'm using some squirt tape because it is very, very sticky and it holds well. You could use glue if you wanted to, but that would, take a little more effort of patience. And I'm laying out my wood panels for my little Woody here, and I'm just gluing them on. I'm going to cut to the chase on this. I think you've all seen people glue a piece of paper to another piece of paper. Just make sure you get the right sizes in the right spot, because of course I didn't in one spot and had to redo it. Now I'm taking my walnut ink, which is pretty much my only brown ink, and I'm running it along the sides to give it a little kind of aged look, a little bit of distress, just not so plain, because it's pretty plain. And I'm getting into all the little nooks and crannies, and it can be sloppy. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong. I'm just giving it a little bit of a aged look so it wasn't so stark. Now see, those wood panels don't look too bad, do they? Now I have to flip her over, and we have to do the other side, because remember, those flip out. And I glued those all down. And now I'm going to go around, and anywhere there's a crease, I just added a little bit of color. And now I'm putting more score tape on the box for the other flap. I have our watercolor panels all dry, so I'm going to make some eggs. But first, I thought I better do a sentiment, and I wanted it to not just be white. So I went ahead and took it, made it, and I just cut it out. We'll put that on later. And there are our eggs. I sprayed a little shimmer spray on it, and then some distress spray. It is really hard to tell in the photo, but I really do it. And it's kind of cool. It doesn't make a huge effect, but it gives them a little bit of texture. I just had that there because I just got in a great big order of Tim Holtz stuff, and I decided I'm going to use it. Now I'm going to take my bone folder, and it's actually Teflon, and make sure my creases are all creasing. Please consider subscribing if you're enjoying this. If I'm at all informative, tell a friend. And don't forget the giveaway. You need to leave comments and on as many stops as you can. And you'll be entered for a $50 gift certificate. So don't forget, and I really want to thank our sponsor, Only One Life. Now I'm just putting the grass in. Now remember, this grass is going to be, it's on the front panel, so I had to glue it from the inside. It's best to do this as much as you can while it's flat. So I'm just adjusting and gluing. These are the inner flaps to the card, which are what give it the dimension. And now it's time to put on our sentiment. I thought that was kind of a cheery sentiment. So I'm just gluing that down. And I know I'm kind of going speedy, but this was going to be forever if I didn't speed up some things. And I'm going to just chop off the excess. Kind of hurts to waste that little bit of watercoloring. It's not like it took long, but everything I do, I just feel like it's a waste if I throw it away. Then I had a couple little carrots I thought might be nice. I was going to just use one and make it an exclamation mark, but I wasn't sure anyone else would get that. So I went ahead and put on 2 and just plop them on. This is not a formal card. It does not need to be perfect. Now we're going to start displaying our eggs. So I have this flipped upside down because this front panel is in the front. So I have to glue the front of the eggs. And you know, so you're kind of flying blind, but it really doesn't matter. There's a little bit of wiggle room. Definitely use liquid adhesive for this. Then I just started applying them, and I wanted to stagger them. You can see kind of on the eggs how now they do, you can kind of see there's a little bit of something on there. And now I just goof around until I kind of get my eggs all figured out. And I do put all my eggs in one basket. I decided I was going to use every single one of these suckers because it was so much work. Now I'm taking just one side of the tape off and adhering our flaps to the inside of our box. I decided to do the rest of the eggs and the little bunny rabbits once it was all together. It was just going to be easier to see. And this really does work out pretty well if you take all the release tape off at once and you're just going to fold the card over onto itself and it will seal. It's a little confusing here for a second, me and that tape. So I'm just going to kind of mess around there, make sure it's straight. Then I forget that flap needs to be flat. So just going to lay it down and get everything figured out carefully. Take that flap. There you go, Gale. You can do it. And then carefully line everything up, press down, and voila, we have a box, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Now I'm just going to finish decorating it here. I added the rest of the eggs and some bunnies. My coloring is nothing to write home about, so I just went ahead and did those off camera. Now the neat thing about this is it does fit in an A2 size envelope, and then it just pops back up. And here is our finished project. Isn't it just as cute as it could be? I was going to say cute as Christmas, but no, not really. It's cute as Easter. I hope you enjoyed this and you will like, subscribe. Don't forget to comment for a chance to win that $50 gift card from Only One Life Creations. Follow me on Facebook, Pinterest, everything you can. Come back and see me, and here are some other videos that you might be interested in. Take care and continue to stay safe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.